Okay guys, sorry about that. Last hand, basically just outplayed this guy. I'll go through the hand history here. I had 5-9 suited in clubs. The flop came 6 deuce 10 with 2 spades. The guy bet 2,400. Sensing he was on a bluff and was making a continuation bet before after the flop, I raised to 5,200. He flat called. On the turn, he checked. I bet 6,000. He flat called. On the river, he checked again. The turn had been a king. The river had been a 7. No flushes on the board. Any flush draws on the board, I should say. I went ahead and put him all in, and he folded. So I raked in a nice little pot there, and got back the chips pretty much that I lost to that same guy earlier on. So worked out fairly well for me. A big part of building your stacks on these tables, you can't depend on getting lucky and winning coin flips. You have to be able to steal pots, big pots like that. If not, you're not going to, you may win 1 in 100 of these things. You have to get very lucky. You have to be able to bluff and bluff well to be able to get far in these things. Otherwise, you're going to be relying on luck the entire time, and it's not the way to go. You're going to have to learn to bluff. Sorry about that. Like I said, this is my first video. We are in a 440, 180 man sit and go on PokerStars. The table so far has been fairly, shouldn't say fairly, table has been very, very passive. Not too much action other than when I have forced the action. So perfect table to be stealing blinds. And the only strong player that I've identified, or I should say has been solid, 88 Accord has been playing a very solid game. What I like to do is identify the weak people and the strong people at my table, so you know who you can get chips from when you don't have a good hand. Something I would recommend using if you don't have, if you're not too great at keeping up with those kind of things, something like Poker Office, where you can see a percentage of how many times they've raised before the flop, or how many hands they've played pre-flop. Those are two really good indicators of how a player plays, and I use that sometimes, depending on how tough the tournament is. Something like a 440, I'm not inclined to use it as much. But like I was saying, you want to identify the weak players, you want to identify strong players, pick on those weaker players. You want to try and extract chips from those guys because excuse me. You want to try and extract chips from those guys because those are the guys that will fold to raises. They will fold to continuation bets, those sort of things. And I identify a weak player as someone who plays very tight, someone who doesn't play many hands. You know they have a hand when they raise. That's a weak player to me. A strong player will make plays when they don't have a hand. And I've seen Accord earlier on in earlier sessions, earlier tables. I have seen him make some plays, so I know he's capable of doing that. So I'm going to try and stay away from Accord. Two people I've picked on are Bland to my right, and the guy to my left, Danny Boy. Both of those players I've extracted quite a few chips from. Most of my chips have come from those two guys. So I'm going to continue to pick on those guys. The other three guys, Captain Black, MDY Nex, and Willie Beam, I don't have too great of a read on so far. They've played, from what I've seen, very, very tight, you know, trying to advance in the money, just like everyone else, basically. You know, I'm playing more for first place than trying to get up in each money level. And that's what I have noticed so far. Of course, I haven't been here very long at this final table. Anyone can switch gears at any time, so we have to keep an eye out for that. Back from the break. Everyone has folded to me. Gonna do the standard 2.5 raise. I'm assuming this guy has not come back from the break yet. I don't think he's at his computer at the moment. Seven-handed. This hand is actually not as terrible as it looks. Usually, this might be an insta-fold for me. However, I have the table image of an aggressive player, so these guys are more likely to fold blinds to me. So, I'm going to keep with that image. Pretty good flop for me here. However, I do not want to get in too many tangles with this accord, guys, so I'm going to play this fairly conservative. Just come a little bit over the top of my original bet. 4,500. Doesn't look too harmless. Well, that flat call is very alarming to me. At the same time, it could mean anything. It could mean he's on a draw. He could have something like a king jack or queen jack, second pair. Could have a weak ace. I mean, it's impossible to tell. So, with that third ace, though, I have to bet this. So I'm going to go ahead and bet this about a third of the pot. So I'm going to bet 10,000. Just what I wanted. Now, what I really like about that, even more than the pot I just won, was I weakened the guy that I've identified as the strongest player at this table. So that's very, that's a big victory for me, personally.